Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Friday Nights on the Bayou. I'm your host, Grant Chachere. Jace is not going to be here with me. He's got a pretty busy week. Not only got the state championship coverage, but then also he's also getting ready for the Gridiron Football All-American Bowl game that will be coming up on December 30th, right on right on the cusp of New Year's Day or New Year's Eve, I guess you could say. So I just decided to give him the week off, and so instead we're going to have a couple of guests on throughout the week to discuss the LHSAA Prep Classic at the Superdome. I'm joined here by Jarryd Boyd, aka JB, the sports guy from the Hash It Out show. JB, man, welcome to the show.
Thank you, man. Feels good to be back.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, JB, we're going to discuss some of the state championship games that are involving New Orleans area teams. Jordan Taylor will discuss the rest of the games as the other three of the other four games are going to be involving a team from the area he's from, and then also we're going to cover Central and Ruston. So, JB, man, it feels great to have a lot of teams from the New Orleans area. I said that on the last show. To the jargon of Jace. I know Jason's pretty annoyed by, all my antics. But, it's great to have teams from this area again, because last year it was actually, I think, the first time in like 30 to 40 years where there wasn't a team that had a 504 area code. There's some crazy stat that I saw. So, JB, take it away.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm sure the LHSAA is happy also that they got a lot of New Orleans area teams that have made it. It's always good to have New Orleans area teams in the dome. I mean, it helps out tremendously. With St. James, South Plaquemines, Edna, Karr, you got Archbishop Shaw. So you got right there, that's four teams right there from the New Orleans area who's going to be in the dome. And then you can even count Franklinton from the North Shore, pretty much from the area. So 5 teams in the dome from New Orleans. That's pretty amazing. You might get 2, maybe 3 the most sometimes, but to have these 5, it speaks loudly of the football that's being played in the New Orleans area.
Mm-hmm. And one of the schools is your former alma mater, Archbishop Shaw. I mean, we got to talk about the Eagles the year that they've had. I mean, they start off the season kind of rough. I know first game of the year they went against Karr, and that's always an experience. But it was good for those guys to kind of see what it takes to play some big-time football. Karr has been the most consistent program in the New Orleans area for the past 5 to 10 years. I mean, I think 13 of the last 15 years they made it to the semifinals.
Yeah, without a doubt. Speaking about Shaw scheduling Karr, I'm not mad that happened. I'm not mad. You need to play some of the best teams within the city or the state to see where you stand and also make you better. So that was, it was a tough loss for Shaw. They took it on the chin that night, but it made them better. It made them hungrier, and look where that's gotten them. The schedule they had with Rummel, Karr, Lafayette, Crescent, Walker, to name a few, made them ready for this point where they are now, and that's competing for a state championship. Jasper Parker, one of the best running backs in the state. You got Mason Wilson at quarterback, very good athlete at running this read option. Jacob Washington at wide receiver, and on defense, you got Ryan Trey Carter at safety, Jaquan Carter at linebacker, Jackson Williams at safety, Alan Shaw at cornerback. So you got a good group of kids who can play football for Archbishop Shaw, and they're ready to bring Shaw a state championship for the first time since 1987.
Yeah, I mean, this team's gotten better throughout the year. Of course, of course, they started this loss against Karr, and then of course they lost a tough one against Rummel. But since the Rummel game, they've won every single game since, and really the second half of the year they were playing their best football. And I remember going to the Walker game, and they beat Walker 59-14. Walker's not some like slush program. That's a pretty good program with a lot of really good players, and they beat them 59-14. And I'm thinking to myself, it's like, okay, I can only imagine what this team's going to be for the rest of the year. And I mean, and then the next week they blew out Kenner Discovery, and then they beat Bell Chase pretty badly. And then of course they beat St. Charles Catholic 26-27, which was expected. St. Charles Catholic's not going to let Shaw score 50 burger on them. And then the playoffs happened, and then they had 2 back-to-back tough games against JFK, Madison, who are both very talented.
Yes.
And so they're very explosive offenses. But this time around, in the state championship, they'll be playing against E.D. White, who's a win T team. So it's just a different contrast from the last 2 teams they played. But E.D. White will pose some problems as well. They're a very physical team. They run the option. It's not something you see every day anymore.
No, it's not something you see every day. But E.D. White, they run the option and they run it great. It is a hard offense to prepare for, and Shaw hasn't seen this type of offense at all this season. So it's going to be, tough to prepare for this within 4 or 5 days of a state championship game. But E.D. White O-line is big. They're massive, and they are very physical, smash mouth football type of team. So, they're looking to establish the run game and stay on the field for a long time to keep Shaw's offense off of the field. But that's where the game's gonna be won right there. I really feel if Shaw can stop the running game of E.D. White, they will have, well, not have, they will be successful, pretty much winning this game, because I really think Shaw's offense is going to give E.D. White's defense some fits.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it's not like Shaw isn't used to this option. I mean, because they run the option themselves, they
Correct.
just run it out of the shotgun. I mean,
Correct.
Tierney loves to run the option. They're doing now the option, which is more of a modern day version of the option, kind of similar to what other programs, like for example, Oregon when Chip Kelly was there, and Liberty's running its version of that out of the shotgun as well. So it's not unusual, but it is unusual to see it in that way in the wing T. But
right,
moving on to the next game, another team that is on the West Bank. Of course, you got Edna Karr High School back in the state championship for the first time since 2020 after hard-fought 21-19 victory over a Catholic team that has dominated the state the last 5 to 10 years. A team that's won 3 out of the last 4 state championships Division I select. They will be going against another really good team, Alexandria. Other than Karr and really Catholic, has been the best team in the state. I mean, they play in a very tough district, similar to Karr. They play District 2-5A with West Monroe, Neville, Ruston. And then they also had some tough out-conference games, out-district games, including a team, Destrehan, and they destroyed this. I know they had some injury issues at that time, but they beat a really good Destrehan team. And even if they played Destrehan again, I still think Alexandria would have beat them.
Oh, I agree. I think Alexandria would beat them again, and probably the same if they play Neville again or Ruston maybe. But Alexandria is a great team. You have LSU signee JT Lindsay, who ran for over 250 yards against Jarryd Curtis on Friday night. He had a great game. As far as Edna Karr, this is another big test. You got by Caliga Baton Rouge, who has great defensive backs from Jacob Bradford and Blaine Bradford. And as you see, Teron Francis and Oliver Mitchell didn't catch many passes. Now, the Louisiana Tech signee, Dejon Smith, he caught a lot, over 160 yards receiving. He had a touchdown, and quarterback John Johnson, one of the best quarterbacks in the state, he had to run the ball to get them this win. So it wasn't all with his arm. He had to run the ball. This matchup here, I really want to see if Alexandria can not stop, but can they contain the receivers of Edna Karr? If they can do that, Alexandria has a shot to win this game. But Edna Karr's defense is great, man, with Richard Anderson, Corey Adams, Arsenio Bowles, Aiden Hall. That defense is great, man. So I don't expect JT Lindsay to have a field day like we've seen him. He'll break some runs off, but that defense from Edna Karr is very, very stingy. Very stingy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think I was actually at that game, and from what I saw, I mean, Catholic did a great job of containing the receivers. Obviously, you can't contain everybody. That shows you how deep Karr's receiving core is. I mean, Day Smith had a hell of a game, over 150 yards and a touchdown. And but they're able to lock down Teron Francis. I mean, Jacob Bradford had a hell of a night.
Yes.
Guarding Teron Francis. They could not. Teron Francis couldn't even get just an inch of separation from Jacob Bradford, and that just shows you the type of caliber of DB that LSU is getting in Jacob Bradford, and also a great receiver Teron Francis too. But the fact that Teron Francis can break free from Jacob Bradford was pretty. It says a lot about Jacob Bradford. So also his brother Blaine too at safety. I mean, that's one of the better defensive backfields in the state. So I was not shocked at all that they were able to lock down Karr's receivers. But I want to talk a little bit about John Johnson and the year that he has had. And were you at the District and Karr scrimmage of the spring game?
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, we were both there. So, and I think that was the game really that made me realize, oh, maybe John Johnson is going to have a big time year. And then as I kept seeing him at 7-7s, and he was making throws that, like, I did not see him make the year before, that made me realize that he's going to have a big year. And I think Karr had an opportunity to win a state championship for the first time since 2019.
Yeah. I mean, he's really grown and matured within a year. You know, he's just a junior, so we get him for another year, but he's grown and matured within the year, making better reads. His vision is a lot better than it was last year. And to me personally, I think when it comes to an all-state team, he should be your quarterback. I know Ben Taylor's going to get a lot of votes. I know he will. But what John Johnson did in this district against the Catholic League with better defenses, and he was named district MVP, I think John Johnson needs to get a lot of acknowledgement towards that all-state. But John Johnson, to me, is one of the best quarterbacks in the state. He's only going to get better. He just got rated as a 3-star from Rivals.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
Yeah. He can put the ball on the money. He has great touch. I mean, you can't say nothing wrong about the year he has had. And his dad was a great quarterback. His dad is actually the quarterback coach at Edna Karr. So he's getting training every day to become better and better from his dad. But John Johnson is just unbelievable and amazing, man. And it's the future is bright for him.
Yeah, I mean, he's just stereotypical Karr quarterback, 5'10", 5'11", but deadly accurate. And I mean, that's the guy, that's the architect of that offense. He's the one that makes that offense flow. And, what a year that he has had. And I'm going to be able to opportunity to go. Well, we're going to both be there to ask you some questions. And I'm glad that he's having the season that he's had. I mean, we're all getting a chance to see why everyone's calling him Hollywood. And he's proved that throughout the year. But also Karr, I mean, I think another key too is, Alexandria, of course, JT Lindsay's rushed for over damn near 2,400 yards. I mean, 38 touchdowns. I mean, he's had a hell of a year. But I think the biggest key for Karr is, or in both teams, can Alexandria get past this front seven that Karr has? I think Catholic got a really hard time trying to run the ball up the middle. And then they had some success running to the outside. Eventually going to have a couple of good runs up to the outside. I mean, I think Catholic's got one of the better sophomore running backs in the nation in Jaden Miles, but they had a hard time trying to run up the middle. I think Alexandria will have a hard time trying to run the ball against this front seven that's led by Richard Anderson and Corey Adams, and then Tyreek Bergalia and Ace Bowles behind them.
Yeah, it goes back to my point. I mean, I want to see that too. Can JT Lindsay, get past that front seven? I think that's going to be the major test for Alexandria, because that front seven, like I said, it's one of the best in the state. I mean, Richard Anderson, you really can't get by this guy. He's really unblockable. Corey Adams going to Ole Miss, unblockable. I mean, it's going to be a test. And if Alexandria has success running the ball and keeping that Karr offense on the sideline, then we could say they're probably successful. But it won't be easy. But I'm sure Coach Bachman and his crew are developing some type of scheme to get JT Lindsay loose in this ball game.
Yeah, I mean, I think JT Lindsay will definitely get loose as the game goes on, but I think it's going to be tough sledding for him as it gives. Also, Carson Sellers is a good quarterback as well for Alexandria, so they have it. So he should, if Alexandria wants to win this game, Carson Sellers has to have a big game, so it could open up the running lanes for JT Lindsay. But another game I want to talk about is South Plaquemine at Haynesville. South Plaquemine is in the dome for the first time since 2009. It's been a long time coming for the Hurricanes. Lyle Fitt, the head coach, is an alum of the school, and he was there when they had all that success in the late 2000s. Jaheim Williams, a hell of a running back. But, this is the biggest game and probably in the school's history. You're going up against a Haynesville team that's state runner-ups. They were undefeated the whole entire way. This is a team that was a favorite going into the playoffs, given what they were bringing back from last year's squad, and also they're just undefeated. And it's Haynesville. They're the 17-time state champion in the program's history. The only school that has more is John Curtis.
That's correct. That's correct. I mean, Haynesville is a perennial power year in and year out. And, you know, it's going to be the toughest test to me for both teams. Coach Loud Feet has done a magnificent job at his alma mater. I remember when we talked before the season, and I said, "You're not in Division II anymore. You're in Division I." I said, "I expect your team to get to the Dome." He says, "I like my team. I'm very, very confident." Well, here we are. His team is back in the Dome. Jaheim Williams, a phenomenal athlete. And that's one thing about South Plaquemines. They have athletes around the whole team, pretty much every position. They do have athletes, not like Edna Karr, but they got athletes that can make plays, and that's what makes them dangerous as a team. You know, Jaheim Williams could do something. This player could do something. This player could do something. That would make South Plaquemines dangerous. So you just can't prepare for Jaheim Williams. You got to prepare for everybody on that field. But, you know, these two teams, they have some history. Haynesville defeated South Plaquemines in 2009 for that state championship. 2008, South Plaquemines beat Haynesville in the semis. So they have history with one another. I wouldn't say they're too familiar with one another now because it's been 15 years since they played each other. But, I mean, Coach Feet bringing this program back to relevancy now, and Haynesville always been there. This is one of the most intriguing matchups in my eyes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And yeah, you saw some intriguing because 1 versus 2.
Yes.
And really, I think the game that, you know, I told this to Jace when he's hopped on before multiple times, that I really think that season, the last game of the season against Newman, where they nearly upset Newman, I think was the biggest. I think that was a huge confidence booster going into the playoffs because Newman's one of the best teams in the state. I know they got upset in the quarterfinals with Catholic Iberia, who's shown that they're actually much better than we thought they were going to be because they beat Calvary Baptist in the semifinals. But you know, I think that's really when I started opening my eyes to South Plaquemines, was like, I knew they were good, but when I saw that, I'm like, you know, this team may be better than what you know a lot of people think they are, and they proved that they're in the state championship.
Oh, without a doubt. And then you got to remember they defeated district champion East Jefferson in a ball game.
Yeah.
They defeated them. The game against Livingston was the bunch of mistakes they made, very undisciplined, and Coach Loud Feet fixed that in a heartbeat with his team. So the Newman game, they went out there, they played with everything and lost by 3 points. And I think, like you said, that's when people realize, well, wait a minute, maybe this team is very good. And now you see throughout the playoffs, defeating Mangum and Logansport, here they are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, and you know that's another team that, you know, of course, that's actually technically in the West Bank. I guess I've not been hearing that because they're kind of right. They're kind of past Bellchase, but a little more out there too because they're right near the ocean.
Yeah, they're close to the Gulf of Mexico. But yes, they are on the West Bank of Plaquemines Parish. Yes, they are.
Yes, sir. And another game we want to talk about from New Orleans area is Cecilia versus Franklinton. Jordan's going to hop in when he comes on a little later. He's going to discuss that game as well. But I also want to give your take on St. James because they are a New Orleans area team. But St. James, they're a really young team. A lot of sophomores playing on that that are starting on that team. Their quarterbacks are freshmen, and despite the amount of young players are playing on both sides of the ball, they still find themselves back in the state championship. They're able to get revenge over Union Parish last week of the semifinals, and really just shows you what a job that Coach Levante Davis has done. Really, this might be his best coach job considering who he has to work with. I'm not saying they're bad players, but they're just really young. They're going to be good down the line, but I don't think I expected them to go to the state championship this year. I thought it was going to be next year.
Look, the team is young. Wait till next year.
Yeah.
Wait till next year.
Yeah.
When I was told they were young, I said they'll make a playoff run. I didn't think they would get back to the Dome, but I thought about next season. When I saw them play Shaw at St. James, I left out of there saying, this team is good enough to be in the Dome. They are that good. They're talented. They get the ball to their best players in open space, and their players can make plays happen. And the freshman quarterback, he has gotten better and better and better every week. And he threw for over 320 yards against Union Parish this past Friday night. Kanai King Young, number 5, the running back. Oh my God. Running all over the field, making people miss. And then Jakias Villanueva, wide receiver. He's hard to cover. So that's the 3 best players offensively. These guys are just talented. They want to win. And Coach Davis, like you said, this is his best coaching job. To get a young team ready to compete every week with the short-term goals, go 1-0, 1-0 each week. Within long-term goals, district championship, and then back to short-term goals, win this playoff round, win this playoff round. And now another long-term goal, get to the state championship and win. Coach LaVonda Davis has done a phenomenal job with this crew. And it won't be easy against the Sterlington team. It won't be easy, but I'm expecting a lot of fireworks in that game.
Oh yes, sir. It's gonna be. There sure will be. And another team, and they'll also be going against a very tough Sterlington team as well. That that beat Oak Grove in the quarterfinals, and then beat Gina in the semifinals, pretty badly too.
Yeah.
But the last team I want to talk about is Franklinton. That's another New Orleans area team. That is a team that's often forgotten about. Often due to the fact that they're in the very, very north of Southeast Louisiana.
Yeah.
That's that's too far away from like New Orleans to really cover it. Besides Crescent City Sports, and maybe you get WGNO to go out there as well. And then also it's too far away from Baton Rouge, and oftentimes you don't really cover Franklinton unless they're very good. But they are very, very good. Matter of fact, they're better than very good. They're in the state championship for the first time since 2010. Nick Saltaformaggio, who is a New Orleans guy, true New Orleanian, Holy Cross grad. He has led the Franklinton Demons to the state championship since 2010. It's also the third program that he's led to a state championship, joining David Simna of Central. Those are the only 2 coaches that have done that. So congratulations to Coach Salt. But they have a tough matchup against Cecilia. What does Franklinton need to do to win their first state championship since 2010 to add a second state title to their belt?
Number 1, control the clock. You have to control the clock. Keep Diesel Solari and Cecilia on the sidelines. Get your first downs. If a big play happens, it happens. But you can control the clock, getting first down after first down after first down, and wearing that defense out. They have a great shot to win. Because Cecilia can score points like this with Diesel Solari on the football field. So they got to control the clock. Number 2, defensively, put a little pressure on Diesel Solari, but also keep him contained. Do not let Diesel Solari get outside of the pocket and have him use his legs to make big plays happen. Keep him contained in the pocket. Do not let him escape. That's the 2 things Franklinton must do in order to have a chance to win the game on Friday night.
Mm-hmm. And I got one last question for you.
Okay.
We got 3 games that do not involve New Orleans area teams. That's Washington Christian, Vermilion Catholic. That'll be the very first game of the LHSAA Prep Classic, 12 o'clock noon on Thursday. You also have Catholic New Iberia and Dunham. That will be played at 3:30 on Friday. And then Central at Ruston, and the final game of the 3-day stretch. Which one intrigues you the most?
Oh, definitely Central and Ruston. Out of those 3, Central and Ruston, definitely. I like to see this matchup. Very intrigued with the defense of Central. You held Neville to 10 points. You got the 13 points, the blocked field goal. So you pretty much played a good defensive ball game against a good Neville team that defeated Russell. So I want to see how this defense prepares against Joshua Brantley and crew. So that's what I want to see. Can your defense contain or stop the offense of Ruston, who seems like they found another gear since when they lost those 2 games?
Yeah, man. And thanks JB for hopping on. You can actually catch us at the state championships. So I'm gonna be hosting a lot of these shows from all day throughout Thursday, and then also a good bit for Friday. But me and JB will be hosting the halftime show for the Division II non-select state championship game with Franklinton and Cecilia. Not only will be JB, but also be Vashon. Both those guys are on the Hash It Out show. Make sure to check out the Hash It Out show on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. They're going to have 2 great shows coming up. You want to promote those real quick?
Definitely, man. Thank you. Hash It Out show tomorrow at 7 o'clock. You can find it on YouTube, on the YouTube page of JB the Sports Guy, but you also can find it on Facebook on the page of the Hash It Out show, and on Twitter on JB the Sports Guy Twitter page. Like Grant said, we got a show tomorrow at 7 o'clock and a show Wednesday at 7:30. Tomorrow we have Chris Singleton from the Bayou area. He's going to talk about St. James and Edie White with us. And we also have Lamar Gafford, who's going to talk about Alexandria with us on tomorrow. So that's our show tomorrow. And then Wednesday, we'll talk more about the games that's happening, and we do our picks.
All right, man. Thanks for hopping on to talk a little bit about what's going on in the New Orleans area regarding the high school football state championships that will be happening from Thursday through Saturday. It should be a lot of jam-packed action. I'm really excited for it. Thank you so much, Jarryd, for hopping on the show.
Definitely, man. You got that. Appreciate you.
No problem. Hey, guys. Welcome back to Friday Nights on the Bayou. I'm your host, Grant Chachere. Earlier, we had on Jarryd Boyd of the Hash It Out show, where we discussed all the state championship games involving the teams around the New Orleans area, which we both reside in. And so I'm glad to have him on and provide his insight. This time around, we're going to have on Jordan Taylor of Under the Lights. He does a great job of not only covering games across the state of Louisiana and broadcasting them live on Facebook, but he also does his usual show where he has a roundtable of guys and they just discuss high school football across the state. So, Jordan, welcome to the show. Finally, we were able to have you on. Last week we had Holden. Now we got you.
Grant, what an honor it is to be here, my friend. Who takes a vacation during the middle of the playoffs? I guess happy wife, happy life, correct?
Yeah, yes, sir. That's it. That's all you asked for.
Well, we're right back in the peak of things. I mean, the road to the dome, it has to come to the final weekend. Well, what a grind it's been. I'm sure you guys have been crazy busy these last 15 plus weeks, my friend. So thank you for the opportunity to be here. Hey, this week's gonna be fun.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, it's gonna be lots of fun. You're gonna be at the Dome this weekend?
Absolutely. That's our weekend getaway. Me and Mr. Gary like to call it. We say we take a mini vacation and we go and have a weekend to enjoy and reflect on the great season. So we just sit back and enjoy some great football, make it a weekend out of it.
Yes, sir. And there's a lot of there's a lot of teams from the New Orleans area that made it. Of course, there's 5 New Orleans area teams that have made it. There's a lot of teams from North Louisiana. And we actually have a team from Central Louisiana this year with Ash finally being in the fold. The second time in the last 5 years that they were able to make it to the state championship. This year what's up?
How cool is it that those guys get to touch the turf this time, though?
Oh yeah, I know exactly right. Because the last time they're in it, that was the COVID year where we all had to play at the Turpin Stadium in Natchitoches. Of course, that's a nice stadium, but you prefer the Dome, So
absolutely.
Oh yeah, definitely. And but this year we actually had 3 teams from your area in Acadiana. But this time, I actually looked it up. This is the first time since 2012 that there hasn't been a team from the city of Lafayette.
Man, you go back a couple years ago and you had 4 of them win the state title. So you go from 4 of them winning it in 1 year to not even having one representing this year. So a little setback, but you did get a couple times those LCA STM matchups in the Dome. So we were spoiled a little bit these last couple years. So we'll take a setback this year, but I'm almost positive one or those three should be back in very soon.
Oh yeah, pretty much. And we still got 3 teams from your area. Of course, you got Catholic New Iberia making it. You got Vermilion Catholic making it, and then also you have I think it
Cecilia.
was Cecilia. Yep, Cecilia. Cecilia makes it as well the second year in the row.
And
That's
Cecilia scoring some points, my man.
Oh yeah,
Oh
no.
my.
Oh yeah. So I mean, just talk about those 3 teams and what they each bring to the fold.
Well, for one, what a story Catholic and New Iberia has been in this season. Me and Gary saw them in the Jamboree, and it's hard to make an assumption. I guess you could do it of the Karrs of the world, and you could say, yeah, they'll probably be playing for a state title down the road. But me and Gary looked at each other in the Jamboree when we covered them and said, man, they look like they are good enough to go compete for a state title this year. And you don't just make those assumptions back in a Jamboree. And they ended up losing week 1 in a monsoon type of game, and with another team that's playing for a state title. Vermilion Catholic and Catholic New Iberia met in a monsoon week 1. So, I mean, after that, they rolled off, 13 wins in a row. I'm sure they had a bye along the way. But we knew it back then, and what a story to get there. I mean, all 3 phases, they say, right? Offense, defense, special teams, an onside kick and a walk-off field goal at the state champs place. You don't just go in there and kick down the door. So hats off to Catholic and New Iberia. Boy, we're rooting for them next week for sure to bring it home. And the old saying where they have multiple coaches that brought teams to the Dome. Well, the head football coach over there also, this is going to be his second team he's bringing to the Dome. He brought Ascension Episcopal a few years back also. So shout out to him, phenomenal head football coach. And hey, the Big Red, they're gonna pack the Dome. You should see a sea of red come this week. And I think that's the 3:30 game on the Friday slot. Correct me if I'm wrong there. But Catholic New Iberia, it's great to see them back in the Dome. And then Vermilion Catholic, saw them back-to-back weeks, and did our eyes get opened up real quick? Johnny Football is what we like to call him, and I'm sure there's a lot of great nicknames for Jonathan Dortez across the state of Louisiana, but when you get to see him up close and personal, and you guys will get to see him Thursday to kick off the Prep Classic, and he's every bit of advertised. Expect him to get it 30 to 40 times in this contest, and he's got a really good offensive line in front of him. It's not the biggest team in the world, not the most depth in the world, but Coach Brock Frazier, and he's got those guys believing that they can hold the trophy up come Thursday night. And my man Grant, I think they could do it myself. I've seen the last 2 weeks. You don't just shut out Kentwood in the semifinals. Yeah. You don't just hang a 60-piece over a really good St. Ed's ball club. So the offense is really good, but it's been the defense these last 2 weeks that's really caught my eye. So VC, that's going to be a tough out, and it's good to see them back in the title game. Great to see a rematch also from the 2022 title game. Vermilion Catholic, Ouachita Christian, sign me up for that one. And one more for you. You said Cecilia. Yeah, Cecilia has Redemption Tour written all over the locker room right now. Diesel Solari, one more time, I got to see it. And then his surrounding cast, he's got a plethora of weapons around him. So it's not just a Diesel Solari show, but he's running the ship. And they could break the scoreboard come Friday night at the Superdome. So excited to see Diesel Solari one more time. Excited to see Jonathan Dortez one more time. And excited to see the Panthers back in the Dome.
Yeah, Diesel Solari and John Dortez will both be playing their very last game in the Dome. So what a special game! What a special time for them to be playing your last game in the Dome. Whether it's win or lose, it's always a great experience to not only to get to play in the Dome, but to play your very last game in the Dome. And yeah, I think they have both of them have a great shot of winning. I actually was texting Coach Bergeron because we were trying to set up a phone interview tomorrow morning. So that was kind of ironic. You were bringing up them at the time. I was, we were texting back and forth. But that Vermilion Catholic, that's a hell of a way to start off the state championship weekend. A game against Ouachita Christian. What will Vermilion Catholic need to do to beat a Washington Christian team. Although they did lose a lot of players from last year, they are still very good. This is their rebuild year.
Oh, yeah.
Air quotes.
I like to rebuild and be in the state championship game, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But
No,
you look at the Washington Christian, and they're up 15 in the semifinals a year ago, and it just hearts got ripped out of their chest whenever Southern Labs stunned them in the semifinals a year ago. So those guys, they had some of them that played on that semifinal team last year. It is a rebuild year, as they call it, and a lot of them graduated, but a lot of them still remember that feeling whenever they left Baton Rouge that night last year. So you got to think that this was a motivational type of season once they played the schedule. It wasn't the toughest schedule in the world, but all they needed to do was get into the playoffs, get those younger guys some experience. And Coach Fish, I mean, you put him in a top category for those smaller schools in the state of Louisiana. He's one of the better that we know in this state. And he's got his guys right back into the title game just 2 years out, and everybody thought last year's team was a for sure state championship team. Come up one game short, call it a redemption. Here they are again, and they're not just going to give the title to VC. So I'm excited to see that ball game, a young group or not. That's a great great coach team over there.
Yeah, Stephen Fitzhugh has been there for about 25 years now. Been there a very, very long time. Has won 5 state championships, I believe, with the Eagles. And like when you have a program like that, where you lose a whole lot of players for a team that was a lot of people consider to be the most talented team that Washington Christian ever had, which also shows you that loss against Southern Lab, and also the way it ended, which is so shocking given how talented that team was. To not only have the success that you had this year, but to go back to the state championship with a team that, for a lot of programs, will be a down year. This was a rebuild year for Washington Christian. But when you have a program like Washington Christian, you can make magic with it. And they've only lost one game to Oak Grove, and they're in the state championship, which is something that I said before the season, that Washington Christian will be in the state championship. And even when they had 11th seed, I knew they were still going to be and really, I don't even know how they even got the 11th seed in the first place. They were 9-1. Their one loss was against Oak Grove, which is, that's the topic for another time. But Jesus.
Yeah, the schedule for sure didn't help them at all. But when you graduate a ton, you expect to see this type of schedule. But it's the championship DNA. It's the playoff experience. These coaches have seen. They've seen a little bit of everything throughout their years there at Washington Christian, and they had to travel. What was it? 3 straight weeks in order to get into this point. Now make it 4 now, going to the Dome. They had to go to New Roads. They had to go to Donaldsonville. They had to go. Correct me if help me out with that last one. But 3 straight long road trips they had to make in order to punch their ticket to the Dome after that round 1 win. So, they're battle tested in the playoffs, and that should be a phenomenal kickoff to the Prep Classic of 2 teams that are all too familiar with each other. VC, those sophomores remember that feeling of falling in the state title game, and Washington Christian, those seniors now remember that feeling of losing in the semifinals last year. So something's got to give come Thursday at noon.
Yeah, and speaking of road trips, actually they took 3 straight road trips. Well, actually they had a first round game at home, but they had 3 straight road trips to South Louisiana. One was to Catholic Point Capee, which is right between Lafayette and Baton Rouge, or really closer to New Roads, which is actually closer to Baton Rouge more than anything. Then they had to travel to Covenant Christian and Home, which is in Houma, which is way down there. And then, of course, they went to Donaldsonville, which is in the River Parishes, but right outside Baton Rouge, probably about 50 minutes outside Baton Rouge.
They put some miles on those buses. Well, I'm sure they excited to get down to New Orleans Thursday, because these 3 road trips taught them anything is the ride is well worth it.
Yeah, well, guess who also had to travel very well, and that's Cecilia. They had not only were they the 18th seed, they had to travel on the road 4 straight times So Cecilia went to Pearl River, beat them 15-29. Then Cecilia traveled to Lutcher, which is probably about an hour drive, but it's still Lutcher. Lutcher's a very tough place to play. Lutcher, a team that only allowed 50 points all year, not like a game, like 50 points throughout the season. And Cecilia put up 49 points.
A team that was penciled into a lot of brackets to make it into New Orleans.
It was mine. It was mine too. It was mine and Jace. Me and Jace were like, okay, as much chaos is going to be in this bracket, this has Lutcher written all over it. And then, but the one thing that, I was kind of worried about Cecilia going in, was like, this is the best offense Lutcher's seen all year. I mean, they played some good offenses, but not Cecilia's offense. And really, Cecilia's offense exposed some of the weaknesses in Lutcher, which is why they were able to win. Really, it's more 49-35. Lutcher scored at the very last second to make it a one-possession game, but it was really a double-digit win for Cecilia. Then the next week, you had to travel to North DeSoto with a fantastic quarterback. They have a Luke Delafield, Cole Corey at receiver, Kenny Thomas running back. You have a legendary coach in Dennis Dunn, and Cecilia went there and beat him by double digits, traveled up to the Shreveport area, beat him by double digits, and then last week, they traveled on the road to Plaquemine and defeated the Green Devils 55-35 to advance to the state championship. So run by the Bulldogs. And actually, it's actually exact opposite of last year, because last year the number 2 seed, this year the 18 seed, back-to-back dome appearances. They will play a very good Franklin team that's won a lot of very close games and are also well coached by Nick Sotoformaggio, who is only this, other than David Semino, is the only coach to lead three different programs to the state championship. Him and David Semino are the only coaches done that, and they all did that this year.
Absolutely. You go to Franklinton real quick, and you say to yourself, "Man, they know how to win the close ball game. If this game stays close through 4 quarters, come Friday night, watch out. Franklinton could be the state champions. But if you get it into the type of ball game that Cecilia wants it to be, and let's get into a track meet, watch out. You never know where the score could end up." But going back to Cecilia real quick, I don't think any how you say that? I don't think any atmosphere phases them right now. After the last 3 weeks, I mean, Lutcher, phenomenal atmosphere. Stonewall and North DeSoto, phenomenal atmosphere. And then Plaquemine, I mean, they ain't had something like this since the 50s. So they were amped up for the matchup, and one of the better Plaquemine teams I've seen in recent memory. So, I mean, they went in and scored for days on all 3 of those places. So Cecilia might be the heavy favorite going into the dome out of any team that enters the playing field because of what they can do on offense.
Yeah, definitely. And, that's going to be a fantastic matchup. Franklinton has won in many different ways. They've won in high-scoring games. They've won in low-scoring games. They've won in overtime games. They just find ways to win. And, kind of the worry about Cecilia is that Franklinton did a good job of holding onto the ball against a similar team in Iowa who has scored a lot of points. Their only loss was against a team from the state of Texas, and they hung up 62 on Leesville. They just score. And Franklinton was able to hold on to the ball. So I think that will be very interesting to see if Franklinton can keep Diesel Solari and that Cecilia offense off the field.
A good X's and O's matchup also. Two good head football coaches across the field from each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Dennis Gaines is a hell of a coach, and so is Formaggio. So it'd be very interesting to see what they throw at each other. There's gonna be a lot of matchups like that.
It could be one of your longer matchups of the entire Prep Classic.
True, it could be. It could. Oh, yeah. That's what worries me. It's like, oh my god, we're gonna have like a 63-62 overtime game. Like,
hey, I'm all for it, but I know you guys can get y'all steps in.
Hey, I'm cool with it, bro. I'm from New Orleans. Like, now, if I'm like from the Lafayette area, then I'll be like, can we go home? But I'm from New Orleans, so I'm gonna be there all day, and I'm from here, so it's not. So I mean, at least these teams are not from like northern Louisiana, because if that was the case, oh boy, So
and this one closes out the Prep Classic on Friday night. So we're just going right. We're going to the hotels. Y'all going to y'all houses. So we ain't going far.
Yeah, exactly. And another game that's from that involves a team from your area is Catholic New Iberia and Dunham. Catholic New Iberia, we talked about the run that they have had in the court, and I knew they were a really good team. I wasn't sure if they're going to go this far because this bracket was really deep. I knew Catholic New Iberia had some talent, including Jane Mitchell and Luke Landry, quarterback. And I actually watched that game with Catholic New Iberia and Notre Dame. And one of the things I took away from that was not only how explosive Catholic New Iberia was, but how physical they were. And watching that Notre Dame game, I rarely see a Catholic New Iberia team out physical a Notre Dame team. A Notre Dame team has always been known for its physicality, but going to the playoffs, they go to Newman. I know Newman was dealing with some injuries, but Catholic New Iberia took care of business. They forced Newman's quarterback, Eli Front, to throw 4 interceptions en route to a 31-0 shutout victory over the Greenies. And then the next round, which was the big shocker, going to Calvary Baptist, defeating the defending state champions, scoring a touchdown late, getting the onside kick, and then kicking the walk-off game-winning field goal. What a win for the Panthers, and congratulations to them and Coach Dersarmo.
Mm-hmm. What a win indeed. I mean, you look at that matchup, you see them, they going for 2 because you're on the road, you're at the champ's house, you got to. You got to go for the win there, and they don't get it, and it comes down to an onside kick, and that's when there were drama. You like drama? They had it up in North Louisiana. But hats off to the Panthers. That's why you play into the final 0, because you never know what can happen. And the Panthers got a shot. It's going to be 2 good quarterbacks going at it. I mean, you got a number 1 ranked quarterback in the nation in 2027 class, but a little lefty from Catholic New Iberia can sling it around also. So I'm excited to see those 2 duel it out in that matchup. And then I think this one comes down to the DBs, my friend. Which secondary comes to play in this matchup? I think we'll win this state championship. Who makes the most plays? I'm saying secondary wins this one.
Yeah, and Dunham has a really good secondary led by Grant Morgan, and they have that's really their most experienced group on their team is really the defensive backfield. I mean, some of those guys actually played in the 2022 Division III Select State Championship, where the Tigers unfortunately lost against the St. Charles Catholic Comics. Catholic New Iberia is the first time they're going to the Dome since 2018. I believe that was the last time they went to the Dome, if I'm correct.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they won it in 2017 and they lost it in 2018.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's about right, because Brendan Endos was still the coach over there. Now he's over here in our area coaching the Lakeshore, which came out of retirement to take that job too.
He was a 2-point conversion away from us seeing him in Iowa.
Oh yeah, definitely. Also, do you expect Catholic New Iberia to beat this Dunham team? I know Dunham is the number 1 team overall, but they've shown, the LCA game kind of scared them a bit, and maybe Catholic New Iberia's speed can expose some of the weaknesses that Dunham may have.
As long as you got Elijah Haven on your sideline, you got a shot. You got a shot in any ball game. So, I mean, I don't think this is a runaway, to say the least. I think this is a 48-minute war, if you can say. And team that makes the least amount of mistakes, who wins the trenches, who wins the turnover battle, walks out of New Orleans with the title. But no matter what, the title stays down south.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's a good thing. I think North Louisiana dominated last year. They won a lot of those games. I think it's good to see the South Louisianans take control of the state once again.
For
bragging rights. Yes, sir. Another game I want to talk about. This is actually outside your area, but I didn't discuss this with Jarryd too much because I wanted to discuss most of the New Orleans schools, but with him. But Central and Ruston, I know this is kind of out of your area, but
Central fight, baby. Central fight.
I know. I mean, shit. They got to fight. They got to fight before the game.
That's on their shirts.
They're just walking across the field. All of a sudden, they're about to get in a fight with the Neville coaches. I mean, that was a crazy scene.
That's on their shirts. Central fight. So, yeah. I mean, you look at Coach Semino, and man, I got so much respect. 3 different schools in the last 10 years, bringing them to the state finals. Well, I mean, he brought Catholic Baton Rouge to Tulane, but I mean, still 3 championship games, and he's split right now, 1-1 in those games, and he's got a shot to get ring number 2 in his third school, but a lot of people aren't in favor of what they did in at Neville, but I mean, I am. I mean, it's Neville, and Neville's gonna have that saying is, you can't do things like that. And I thought Central Baton Rouge went in and said, we're not intimidated. We're coming over here, and we're coming over here to win a ball game, and we're gonna set the tone early in pregame. And if anybody follows Coach Semino's teams, you know they've done that same walk 1,000 times already. So, and
Yes.
you know you're gonna see it Saturday at 3:30. That same locked in arms walk. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see it. But Big Rustin, my Jesus, Big Rustin looks like every bit of advertised to go back and repeat, and that's gonna be a heck of a game to close out the Prep Classic. You got Central's defense. A lot of people claim that Central defense is top 3 in the state, and you got a lot of people saying Big Rustin looks like they were a year ago when they were entering the dome. So I mean, fireworks. I mean, how do you Grant, correct me if I'm wrong here. How do you follow up Edna Karr Ash?
Yeah. How
So
else can you?
I mean, you got 2 heavyweights that's gonna throw down for 4 quarters. But I mean, the fans got to regroup, regroup in a hurry whenever Ash and Karr get done. So I mean, close out the Prep Classic. I'm all for it. This is a roll your sleeves up type of football game. Phone booth. Your team versus my team. My brothers versus your brothers. My coaches versus your coaches. Who's gonna be the last one standing?
Yeah, and the interesting thing about that Central Neville whole thing is like if you, I remember, I think it was K1, it was K1, it was because so Aaron Dietrich and Jake Martin do the radio show together up in Monroe, and they had on Mike Collins, and Mike Collins like Russ is gonna kill him. I hope Russ kills him, and blah blah blah. And then like it's just that all the comments are basically from either Central fans or like people that just don't like Neville. So I think just people who just don't like Neville are kind of like just like, oh man, this is fantastic. That Neville just kind of like reeling from this loss. And all respect to Neville. I mean, Neville is one of the top programs in the state's history. A lot of respect for what they've done for over the years. All the players they produced. They're about to have. They're about to send the number 1 overall offensive tackle into the NFL draft this year, Will Campbell. So in all respect, but like also at the same time, it's kind of funny. Just like Central and Neville are just bickering at each other. And actually, Alex Allison, who is an intern for Gridiron Football, because I'll go. So Jace goes on my show, and I go on his show, and he mentioned that maybe it's just Central and Neville just play each other every year.
Oh, you're talking about
every year.
Talking about bad blood brewing between the schools. I mean, last year you knock them off in their home stadium, and this year with a lot more on the line, you end their season. So I mean, this one may need to be scheduled in the next recycle.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, definitely. And
Grant, but I know you're a football guy and I'm a football guy, so I think that was a cool moment knowing, yes, y'all are standard, but Baton Rouge is here. I thought that was a we're not intimidated type of moment there. So I mean, I'm for it.
Yeah, now the thing about Central though too is that like from what I know, because I used to I lived there, lived in Baton Rouge for a few years because when I attended LSU, and one of the things about Central was that they had the resources, they had the talent, but they always underachieved. That was kind of what they were known for. They hadn't won a state championship since 1966, and despite all the resources and talent and the community support that they had, but when they hired David Semino, when they took him from Catholic Baton Rouge.
What a home run!
It sent shock waves across. Like it was like front page news in Baton Rouge, and in just 2 years, he's led the Wildcats to their first state championship game since 1966, and that's an opportunity to win it. They can win it.
We all knew that they were capable of getting there, and it was only a matter of time. we knew whenever he got hired, it was only a matter of time because he's that good of a football coach and he'll get anybody to run through a brick wall for him. So I'm happy. Year 2 in the Dome, first time in school history that they're going to play at the Dome. You imagine that fan base? Can you imagine that environment to close out the Prep Classic? Because you know wrestling's coming. You saw it last year. You saw it the year before that. It don't matter how far this trip is. They're coming, and Central Baton Rouge hasn't been there before. So you imagine that place on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, of course. I mean, but that's a great thing. I think the LHSAA won in the end because not only do you have 5 schools from New Orleans area with South Plaquemine, who hasn't been there since 2009. You have St. James, who always brings a crowd to the Dome. You have E.D. White appearing for the state championship. They have an opportunity to win. And then also in that same game, you have Archbishop Shaw, their first state title game since 2008. And this is the first time in a while where the fans are like, we have an opportunity to win state for the first time since 1987. There's going to be a lot of alumni there at Shaw. I've been talking to some of them already, and they're very excited about this game coming up. Franklinton is going to be in the Dome for the first time since 2010, so they're going to bring a crowd. And Cecilia always brings a crowd. So you're going to have – so there's going to be a lot of games where you know
a record-breaking weekend.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely. And compared to last year where it was just not great because there's a lot of North Louisiana teams in, and also there weren't a lot of New Orleans teams as well, right? So that led to the downfall of the attendance last year.
Yeah, 7 guaranteed new champions this year. A lot of new blood in the Dome. So I think that builds excitement across the state of Louisiana for guys like us and coaches and fans that just go to watch these games, not including the passionate alumni fan bases and everybody from the schools that's going to be there. So imagine the people that are just excited to see new teams there and excited to see brand new champions crowned. So there's going to be a lot of people there just as fans, not even associated with these schools.
And college coaches as well. There's going to be college coaches across the state that are going to be there. So it's a great opportunity for some of these kids to make it some last looks before their careers end, or even some guys who are coming up to get some last looks. Before I let you go, I mean, obviously, we already know about Alexandria and Karr. That's going to be a huge game as well. But other than the last game, other than the last 2 games on Saturday, what game are you intrigued by the most?
Oh man! So we talked about the 2 Saturdays, correct? Yeah. Can we go through? I'm gonna go through the list real quick. Yeah. Thursday we got Vermilion Catholic, Washita kicking off the prep class, and then we got Haynesville, South Plaquemines in the middle slot, and then we got Thursday night we got
Sterlington St. James.
St. James, and then Friday we're gonna kick off with Shaw.
Yep. E.D. White.
Shaw and E.D. White, and then the middle slot will be Dunham and Catholic, and then we'll have Franklinton and Cecilia close out that one, and then the 2 Saturdays. I would say the Friday night, the Friday middle game, Catholic and New Iberia Dunham is the one I'm looking forward to the most, but because I want to see Haven in person, and I want to see the Panthers pull it off.
Yeah, and before I let you go, who do you think is going to win between Alexandria and Karr?
What's that?
Who do you think is going to win between Alexandria and Karr?
Oh, I can't say my pick for Wednesday night.
Yeah, you're good. Because I know that's right. You do have a big show coming up, so I'm going to let you save your pick. But what's your outlook on that game, pretty briefly?
My outlook is I'm excited to see Karr back in the Dome. I can't wait to hear the band. I can't wait to see the entrance. It's good to see them playing back in their home field again. And then Alexandria, I always root for the underdogs whenever you know that it's their first time there, first time playing in the Superdome. They played back in Natchitoches in 2020, so I'll kind of leaning towards Alexandria Central Baton Rouge because it's their first time. But I mean, come Wednesday, the University of Edna Karr might be across the board.
Yeah, man, it's really exciting. I mean, even I wouldn't consider Ash an underdog because I think they're just as good as Karr. Right. They may not have the amount of talent that Karr has, but they have the right amount of talent to beat a Karr, especially when you have a guy like JT Lindsay at running back and a
We
bunch of
talked-
other guys who are very solid as well. They're tall, they're lanky, they're athletic. They
And
may
I
not have to
wouldn't-
beat the
I
Karr has,
wouldn't
but they're
really, and I wouldn't really call them an underdog. I would just say that Karr's played many state titles on that field. And here's Ash's first time. So I'm excited to see that. And when we talked about Jonathan Dortez and we talked about Diesel Solari playing their last game, boy, how fun will it to see JT Lindsay play his last one?
Mm-hmm. All right. Hey, Jordan. So before I let you go, tell us where we can find you for all your content and also on social media.
Not hard to find. Facebook is the main platform that we have. Just type in Under the Lights. We do have Twitter, but I mean, I should basically turn Twitter over to Holden because I don't mess with it much. I do have Instagram. Also, I know there's a lot of players on Instagram, so I guess I need to start getting more involved there. But Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, but majority, about 95% of what we do is on Facebook. Just type in Under Lights, and it's not hard to find us. We've covered 28 games this year, so all of those are available for replay. All of our Wednesday night shows, our recap shows on Fridays, always available for replay, and we have a good time with it. And year 6 comes to an end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is year 3 for me. So I'm real, and I can't believe it ended so quickly. But time flies by fast. All right, guys. Grant Chachere, owner of Rougarou Sports Media and a reporter and columnist for Crescent Sports, joined here by Jordan Taylor of Under the Lights. Hey, I'll see you at the Dome, man.
Hey, see you at the Dome. Don't forget the popcorn.
Yes, sir.